childhood amalgam trial, which was a prospective, randomized study, which is the top level study you can do in science. It means taking a whole group of children, dividing them randomly. Some of them you get amalgams, some of them you get composites. Furthermore, they said we're going to test on series of parameters: urinary mercury, porphyrins, kidney damage, neurological damage. They decided all that before they ever tested a single child. This is what we're going to do. They collected all the data prospectively, and what it reveals is damage in every single domain study. Every single outcome that they were looking at, that they said, this might be of concern, so we want to study it to see if it's related to amalgam, all of them are being linked to amalgam exposure. What happens to these children in the course of the study? And what we found, looking at first urinary mercury, then urinary porphyrins, then eventually kidney dysfunction markers, is that mercury exposure from dental amalgams in a dose-dependent fashion, meaning the amount of mercury being released from the amalgams, significantly negatively impact each of those measurements. So it turns out that amalgams, based on the number, the size, how many you have, all of those things, is related to how much urinary mercury you have. It's related to how much porphyrins you have for the mercury-associated porphyrins. And perhaps worse, it's associated with kidney dysfunction. It actually seems to be causing ongoing kidney damage at the level of the proximal tubules. When one studies kidney dysfunction, chronic damage to the proximal tubules is associated with chronic kidney disease, which is the #1 kind of kidney disease in the United States. In considering the childhood amalgam trial findings that I've been discussing, they're telling a very compelling story. A story of damage to the kidney, of mercury building up in the body, of causing kidney damage, brain damage. This is a story that makes sense, very direct, very simple to understand. If I had somebody from the American Dental Association sitting next to me and trying to tell their story, what would they say now? Well, amalgams are safe. They always say that. Well, how do you explain that in light of these findings? Well, we have to suspend the laws of chemistry and physics and physiology to say, yeah, it's just happenstance, coincidence that we found damage to the kidney. It's really safe. Well, it contributed to mercury body burden. That's coincidence. They're actually safe. Well, we can find it in the urine. It's just happenstance, coincidence. It must be safe. There is no story. The story that we're telling is one that's based on over 100 years of science about mercury. We know that mercury is released from amalgams. We know mercury is toxic to almost every organ system in the body. This is what was plausible before the study. Now it's overwhelmingly plausible. They have no story to tell other than we think it's safe because we think it's safe. And if you need me to say it again, I think it's safe is what they would say.